Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray on ESPN 790 AM. Brought to you proudly by Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency, Barton Power Sports, Sportsman's Warehouse, Best Care Home Services, and DeSoto Outdoors and Archery.
Hey, good Saturday morning. Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray on ESPN 790 as we roll into our 16th year on the air. And, this is, as I said before, this is one of my favorite shows of the year because Ron Wong gets to journey up to Kentucky Lake. We get to talk to some of the world's top bass fishermen, get to talk a lot about fishing for 90 minutes, and I can't think of someone that would love to talk about fishing. I've already asked him, can he talk 10 minutes about fishing? We may just go off the air and he's still talking. I don't know, but that's our good friend Keith Combs out of Texas. Good morning, Keith.
Good morning. How are you?
Hey, we're doing great. Ron Wong is on the other end of the line. And, Ron, I know when you put these guys together and set up this all-star lineup that I was really happy to see that Keith was on because we love to talk to Keith because
he's a lot of fun to talk to, so knowledgeable. And, he was one of the professionals there on the BASS Elite Trail this past year that hung out in that top 10, top 5 in the Angler of the Year race. And then towards the end of summer here, when they announced where the Classic was going to be on 2017, I said, oh, my gosh. And I've been seeing pictures of Keith catching these gigantic fish at Lake Conroe. And, Keith, that has to make you one of the favorites right now for the 2017 Classic.
You like that, Keith. Photoshop does work, So,
absolutely. I guess that's what gets you noticed.
No, but it is home water, so to speak. So what does that do to you for as preparation and for as maybe anticipation?
Well, it definitely gives me, an opportunity to prepare a little bit more than I would get for, a Classic that was out of state. So, I plan on spending a few extra days on Conroe in the off season. I haven't really had time yet to really get over there, but except one day. But I'm going to try to dedicate maybe 5 or 6 days in December to preparing, and that's a little bit more time than I usually get to spend on a lake in pre-practice. But it's just kind of a once-in-a-lifetime deal, really, because bass is, they haven't fished a Classic in Texas since 1979. So, it's rare that they come out here.
I didn't realize that. And,
Me neither.
Yeah, and I know one thing, that consistency is known by Keith Combs. I didn't realize this, Keith, that and I was looking up these things. You've been in 67 tournaments and finished in the money in 54. What happened in those other 13? So
we don't want to talk about those.
Yeah, that is consistency. I tell you what, if you were a Major League Baseball player, you would be in the Hall of Fame by now, without even waiting the 5 years, because that's consistent. Is that one of the things that you really try to, because everybody wants to hit a home run every time, but being consistent is really the key to your occupation, so to speak?
Well, man, I certainly appreciate that. I definitely didn't know the statistics, but yeah, I mean, I look at the fishermen, on the FLW tours and the bass tours that I look up to are the ones that are the most consistent.
Yeah,
I think, that's kind of I think year-end standings are really the true, dictator of the best fishermen,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm definitely proud to have good statistics right now.
Well, I know also, and Ron will say this too, and Keith is heavily involved, and I know that we talked to you, I think it was within the last year or anything.
Yeah, it was.
About your Sam Rayburn Slam. And that was an important thing that you mentioned back when we talked to the previous time. I see you just had that. Yep. Wow. I saw the catch totals on that, Keith. You got to be proud of what happened at that event. And tell our listeners a little bit about that event itself, because you raised some money for some really special people.
Absolutely, yes. I'm very proud of that tournament, and we're already making plans for next year's event.
But this tournament was put together, not having really any preconceived notions of how big it would be. But the main reason was to raise money for Warriors Weekend, which is a charity that I really am proud to be part of. But that's what we put it on for. We said, hey, we're going to have this tournament on Sam Rayburn. I want to pay back. From a tournament fisherman perspective, I wanted to pay back better than your average tournaments do. So I said, look, whatever y'all put in the tournament, we're going to pay out. But we still have to raise money for the charity. So really all of my sponsors kicked in products, and we did a big raffle. Myself and some other professional fishermen donated guide trips to auction off. And all in all, we ended up raising, currently we're at right at $19,000 for Warriors Weekend. We're going to be writing them a check probably within the next week.
That's amazing.
But, yeah. And from the tournament standpoint, we had first go round. We had over 160 teams.
Oh man!
And it was great.
That's awesome.
That's really awesome, particularly
absolutely
when I'm
awesome.
thinking about the day. This is the day after November the 11th, and our veterans and everything like that. And I just want to throw it in at the end of October that Keith held this Keith Combs Sam Rayburn Slam, and it was amazing. Catches upward 50 bass a day. So I just want to throw that in there, Keith. I salute you for doing this. I know, when we think, and Ron will say the same thing, I don't think there's a better group of professionals, sports folks, than the bass anglers out there. You guys are the epitome of what we would like our kids to grow up to, because there's very few controversies, and you guys are all well-tooled in this, and I know that you, being in the business for a little bit of while here, I know it's important for you to show to other people what you guys are made out of.
Well, I definitely think this event did this because really nobody had anything to gain out of it. All the sponsors that kicked in and all of the other professionals that kicked in guide trips and did things like that. I mean, they just did it because they wanted to, and that just says a lot right there.
Well, now we got that. Ron, ask him something about 2017 because I know he's got to be fired up. I'm sure, Keith, you're taking some time off right now to get ready, and I know you're on the road a lot as your appearances and everything. But Ron, ask him something about 2017.
Well, 2017 BASS Elites, they've changed the trail up a little bit. How's that going to affect you?
Well,
other than the Classic being a favorite of the Classic, but some of the other lakes that they're going to.
Sure. I mean, on paper, this year's schedule, I mean, I couldn't script it any better. I mean, it's going to be a good schedule for all of us. I mean, it's going to be a slugfest in almost every event. But, we have, not counting the Classic, we have Toledo Bend and Rayburn. So we have 3 in Texas this season, and that's a rarity to have that many events, in Texas. So, I want to try to make the most out of those. But we also have, all of the places that we fish. I've had pretty good finishes on it, with the exception of Cherokee. I haven't been to Cherokee, so I have to do some homework there. But, it's just good to look at a schedule and say, I got a little history to draw from on these other tournaments, and, that definitely gives me a lot of anticipation to get started.
What about your relationship to Strike King, Keith? I mean, describe that and how you feel about being part of the Strike King family.
Well, I mean, it really is. It's like a family, like you say. I mean, sometimes it's, your sponsors are more like it's more of a corporate type deal where you don't really see them or don't talk to them very often, and it's nice to work with a company like Strike King. It's a lot more personal. It's people you hang out with and you fish with, on a yearly basis. And when you got an idea, they don't take it for granted, and they put some thought into it and see if they can make a product out of it. And it's just it works great. I mean, they got a model that works great because I think more than anything, it's just good people to work with.
Keith says, with all of your sponsors, I think you do your homework with them also.
Yeah.
in terms of who you want to partner with, who you want to become family with. And, you know, I look at the list of your sponsors, and it's really tremendous. Tell all of our listeners some of your wonderful sponsors. Certainly Strike King is there on top, along with several others that are just really family-type atmosphere. Who are those folks?
Well, man, it's so many. That like I said, I've been really fortunate to haven't really changed any sponsors since I started fishing. I've just acquired a few more here and there, but you know, the guys at KV Power, I can't tell them thanks enough, because they, you know, they've been there from the beginning for me. And you know, last year I picked up a new sponsor, Tackle Addict, which is a new online. And they do have a store down in Texas, and they're probably looking to build another one at Sam Rayburn. But they're a great online retailer, and you know, they have great products. And I mean, I think a person should definitely look at their pricing, because they're probably the best if you really compare it. But you know, that's definitely one. And of course, you know, Ranger and Yamaha, I've been with them since the start of my career, and definitely couldn't do it without them. But I appreciate all of them, and you know, look forward to working with everybody for the rest of my career.
Well, we got to get
You're
out.
also with a fuel company too, aren't you?
BioBore. I've been with them for really the entire Elite. The entire time I've been on the Elites, I've been with BioBore, and you know, that just goes beyond a sponsor. You know, that's something that I have to have in my equipment, because, you know, I mean, we go all over the country, and you really never know what kind of fuel you're going to get. So I know that I can put BioBore in my tanks, and I don't have to worry about really the quality of the fuel I'm going to get. It's going to keep it consistent for me. So, you know, it's great that they're a sponsor, but I'd have to use BioBore anyway. So
anyway, yeah. Well, we got to get out of here, Keith, and appreciate you taking time. And as Ron said, you can go to Facebook. That's where I go, and be a friend of Keith Combs. Right, Keith? You got your Facebook page, and you got a website too, right?
Absolutely. Just check out Keith Combs Fishing, and you know, drop me a line. We'd love to talk fishing.
We'll talk to you. Thank you, Keith, buddy. Always good to talk to you. Have a good holiday season, and we'll talk to you next time. Okay. All right, let's take a break. Ron, can you take a break? Come up for air and get ready for Gerald Swindle. I mean,
I can't wait for this next one.
All right. We better see, because he's got a story to tell. We'll be right back on ESPN 790.